do it every year. It's like, oh, this team got beat here, so they didn't deserve X, Y, Z.
We deserve to be ranked higher, and we want some respect.
I would love to antagonize people and egg some people on and see what kind of chaos we can have in the stands.
FCS Fans Nation, welcome to the final normal formatted fan question episode of November, because we are getting pretty darn close to hypothetical playoff season and the real one. Welcome to the FCS Fans Nation podcast, the trio, Mr. Kyler Neal, Matt Frazee, and FBS ranked prior FCS, still love them Dukes, James Madison, Jamie Williams himself. Jamie, take the floor, take a bow. Let's piss some FCS fans off with congratulating your Dukes to start the episode. Such a good season so far. How you feeling, buddy?
I feel like we still got about 4 more games to win, but let's keep it rolling. 7 in a row, only losses to Louisville, where we did that stupid 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterback kind of thing. Played pretty dumb, but since then, kind of been on a roll. Yesterday, it's a little tougher than I'd like it to be, but we're gonna go hammer App State like we did in 2008.
Beautiful,
there you go, baby.
Another former FCS powerhouse. I love when schools move up to the top level and go compete, though. You know, instead of staying down below intentionally, trying to stay in the FCS. You know, like some teams do. Okay, guys, speaking of playoffs, which the Dukes are aiming for at the FBS level, FCS playoffs are around the corner, which means we took a little heat last year for not promoting this enough. For 99 cents, you can be on FCS Gold, which gets you access to the Playoff Bracket Challenge. Playoff Bracket Challenge time, guys. It will win you a $50 gift card. Tons of fans just like to do it just for fun, but that will allow you to submit a bracket and have a chance to win that $50 gift card. You have until the kickoff game of the FCS playoffs, which is going to happen over that Thanksgiving weekend, to be able to subscribe for the contest. The link is in the YouTube description below. Okay. Beyond that, the FCS Survivor Pool, which also pays out $50 gift card for 99 cents. We are down to 13 competitors in that contest. Only 13 remain. They are going to be forced in the playoffs to only be able to pick one team, and they can't reuse teams. So there might be some process of eliminations. That's been a lot of fun. Beyond the contest where we just give the money back to the people because it makes it more fun, how about helping out a fellow business owner with our sponsorship, Kyler Neal?
Well, sorry to disappoint y'all. I totally forgot about that today. After I've been doing it every single week, just like Matt, you forgot about asking sponsors $1,000 extra every episode.
Oh, right? That's right.
This is the first time I dropped the ball, and I thought about it about 2 seconds when you started talking about it. Oh no.
And if you want to not forget like Kyler Neal, go get your Renegade Rehydration.
go get your Renegade Hydration packed with electrolytes. My wife has this walking treadmill, and it was right before dinner, and she's like, "You didn't go to the gym today." I was like, "I didn't." So she's like, "Go jump on there." And that's normally when I do everything right before dinner. I sit down, start reviewing stuff. So I started walking on this thing, and my foot, it's so small, it got stuck in the track, and it was just pain in the ass. Ruined my shoe. My brand new shoe's ripped to pieces now. Luckily, my big toe, just got scraped. But here we can do a little bit of trolling, and it's just I wanted to wear this hat to troll a team that we're gonna probably troll in the next few minutes with the first question. But if you want to be hydrated, if you want to be fueled, if you want to have the NDSU type of dynasty and not just little brother syndrome the whole time, guess what? There's a place where you can make this happen. All you got to do is go on Amazon and get Renegade Hydrate. It's cheap. It's affordable. There's no sugar. It's packed with electrolytes. It tastes delicious, and it mixes extremely well. So eventually, after drinking it for 17 months straight, you can finally compete with Big Brother. Because as of right now, sorry, little brother is still king because you're lacking the Renegade Hydrate.
Wow. I was off the cusp, just out of nowhere. The Kyler causing some chaos.
I should have trolled Montana for being competitive with us, but can I throw something in here that I wanted before we started, because we have some crazy takes here now, and I played our first preseason episode just a little bit because I remember there being a take that was so wild. I was like, I got to go back and listen and see if I remember this correctly. When Jamie was going through his, teams, and he's like, you never know if there's going to be another Lehigh. Who knows? It could be Presbyterian.
No way.
Yeah, he called out Presbyterian. They had a hell of a season compared to what they were. And then right after that, he goes, no, that will never happen. But still, he called out Presbyterian. We all forgot about it. And 8 weeks in, they're in the top 25. Pretty wild that was this year's Lehigh last year. So I wanted to give Jamie some props because
That counts as a win.
no one would have even if it was a trolling or joke, no one even is mentioning Presbyterian in the preseason as potentially their darling, their white knight who gets all the way to the top 25.
Dude, Jamie has had some calls this year, and that might be the top one. And
That's some bad ones too.
Preseason episode, it was hilarious.
well done, Jamie Williams. Hey, this is why you listen to the FCS Fans Nation podcast, and it's why fans come as a community to our pages to talk about the big topics that are going on, and we're going to dive into those right now.
What are FCS fans talking and posting about nonstop? It's time for the top 6 topics of the week.
A beautiful, beautiful crapshoot. I don't know how else to describe it. The powerhouse that is the Missouri Valley Conference is kicking us off tonight. And it's not about the top dogs. Typically, it's about South Dakota State and North Dakota State and what have you. It is the mess of what the Missouri Valley below North Dakota State is going to do to the playoff bracket. And Cody starts us off with, if SDSU loses to either Illinois State or UND, will they miss the playoffs? Or would they have to lose both those games to miss? Whoever wins between USD and Southern Illinois, could they be in for a seed at 8-4? Is the loser out of the playoffs? Dylan says, can my Jacks lose out and still make the playoffs? Before we get into this question, I'm going to pull up Sam Herder's tweet. If you're watching on YouTube, a little hard to read because there is so much information about what South Dakota State has done on the season, what North Dakota has done, Southern Illinois, Illinois State, Youngstown, USD. All these teams have 3 or 4 losses. All of them have beat a ranked opponent or 2. All of them have lost to each other or other ranked opponents, and they're in the toughest conference. So we need to figure out what happens with these teams. Let's start with the easy one and the discussion these guys mainly want, and then let's roll into the rest. Kyler, South Dakota State, let's say 5 losses. Where would they be viewed if there are some fringe other last teams in? You think they're in at 5?
Man, that one's tough because at least they have the win over Montana State, right? That helps them out a lot. But I remember the last few years, even the playoff committee's like, what have you done for me recently? If they lose 5 straight in a row, that's where I go, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs. I get injuries, and I'm hoping, they come back and then they're all fine. But you lose your last 5 games in a row, you don't deserve to be in any postseason. That's just, this ain't the FBS where we're going to hand you a participation trophy. Again, that Montana State does help, and it makes it at least interesting. But the last 5 in a row losing to all the other, top tier Valley teams, to me, that's not a playoff resume. That you just played yourself out of the playoffs. So if they win one of their last few games, I think they're in. I think they're locked in at 4 wins. But that 5th one, just because it'd be 5 losses in a row, I think you would have to cut ties with them.
I don't know, Kyler. I just think when you take the name recognition and Montana State, it is going to be hard to truly leave them out, actually leave South Dakota State out. But it's not like they got blown out against South Dakota. It's a ranked team. I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to justify junk. Jamie, jump in here. What do you think? South Dakota State, 5 losses.
Obviously, a lot depends on what the bubble winds up looking like. If there's going to be a 5-loss team in, and they're a 5-loss team, they're probably going to get in. I mean, it's kind of like they're okay. We see what happened here. I agree with Kyler. The what have you done for me lately definitely matters, but so does that win over Montana State, who right now looks like they're playing the best out of anybody. And I know what happened in week 2 doesn't explain how week 12 is going to look. There's a few teams that we could talk about that. For the other part of it, of that game yesterday, that might have had South Dakota kind of play themselves into the bracket. And tangentially, Lamar may have also played themselves into the bracket because now they'll have that South Dakota win starting to look a little bit better. And even if they lose to SFA this coming week, they still have a shot at the playoffs, and I think they would get in with a couple of ranked wins and all that. So you see how it cascades. I know we're talking about the Valley here like that. I don't know that a 5-loss South Dakota State gets left out if there's any 5-loss teams that get into the playoffs, because look at what type of 5-loss teams you're going to have. You'll have them. You'll have somebody like a Southern Illinois, potentially a Southern Utah, Austin P out of the UAC, probably a CAA team. You can't say, even you would think that South Dakota State, when healthy, because we think Chase Mason will be back. He was listed on the depth chart this week. Whether that was a subterfuge or not, he's got to be getting close. So with him back, you think their offense has a little bit more balance and a little bit more ability to kind of move the ball and have a shot to win. And they did have a shot to win yesterday. They just couldn't get anything going in the second half. And then the second part, whoever wins between USD and SIU, they'd be in for a seed. I don't see a world where Southern Illinois winds up with a seed. South Dakota might be able to squeak into that 15-16 range, and I still don't think that happens. But Southern Illinois, you got to remember one of their wins is against something called Thomas More. So that's going to hurt them a little bit, because that's one less D1 win that they would have the ability to have. South Dakota, they had the loss of Lamar, which doesn't look as bad now. To squeak by teams like Northern Colorado like they did, and Indiana State, they didn't play as great. This
here's where
back up. Go ahead.
Here's where, like, again, if they win, they're 100%. And I think all of us are going to kind of reiterate that. All it takes is one win. You beat Illinois State, you beat North Dakota, one of those, and hopefully Chase is back and he can kind of earn it, because, that team has been hit with a whole bunch of injuries. People can say it's not fair, but it is football. It is what it is. If they do allow a 5-loss South Dakota State team, forget about the loss at the end. 3-5 in conference.
Yeah, that's bad.
You want to reward a team who went 3-5? I don't care what conference it is. I don't care if it's the SEC. That's pathetic. That's where I have a hard time. And then if it is 5 losses, you didn't beat the other 5 Valley teams above you, right? And some of these Valley teams aren't as good as we all thought they were. They're starting to fade off a little bit as well. So a 3-5 conference, who's not a conference champion, right? I get we all made fun of Lehigh. They at least won their conference. They at least had a winning record. I don't care how good the Valley is. They're by far the best conference. But 3-5 in conference play, absolutely. I would be so pissed, and I would tweet at every single person. And when we see them in Nashville, I will throw acid on them. I think that would be the dumbest thing in the world, and it just takes the integrity of winning football. I mean, that's the reality. It's a full season. I get it. Injuries suck. It happens. But you gotta adjust a little bit better. They still have played like crap right now. So that's where I go, man, if 5 losses, 4, they're in 4-4. I can handle a 500 in conference team, and you beat up your out of conference. I cannot handle a 3-5 below 500 conference team getting into the postseason and get some type of reward.
It's where it's hard, because you really should try to take the name off the resume and just look at the resume and say, any other team in any other conference is 3-5 and 7-5 overall. Even if that one of those out of conference wins is a win over a top 5 team, that team's probably not getting in. But it's South Dakota State. They've got the recent national titles, and it shouldn't matter. But you and I and Matt, all 3 of us know it's going to, whether it should or not. You go in on a 5, or you shouldn't be in. But
you've got me sold, Kyler, with the 3-5 thing. That is not a way I thought of it. 3-5 in conference it would
be pathetic,
and 5 straight losses to end it is really bad. But
they did say, like, multiple years, and I get the committee changes. They said how you're playing at the end of the season does matter a little bit more than how you played at the beginning, which I think is actually fair. Because in the beginning of the season, you have a whole bunch of changes. You're still learning your offenses. You're supposed to gel better, and you're going to reward the teams that are getting better towards the end. 5 losses, 3-5 in conference, that would be horrible. I'll get that one. I'll get Millards. We'll throw it at them all.
So here, let's talk about 7-5, because you talk about how you play, and I'm going to state this saying this isn't going to happen. But South Dakota State winds up at 7-5 the way they've gone in. Southern Utah winds up at 7-5, having won 6 straight games. And those are the last 2 teams. Who gets the bid? South Dakota State's going to get it.
I don't think any of them would.
Let's say it comes down to those 2. South Dakota State's going to get it regardless.
Yeah, if it comes down, I'm 50-50 that the committee will do something stupid and put them in if that happens. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm 50-50. I just think it'd be ridiculous.
I think we're going to have at least one 5-loss team. I think that's how the bubble's going to fall.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen this year for sure. I hate it, and I don't think any 5-loss team deserves it.
Yeah, that's the Zach McKinnell stance as well. Let's do this quick to roll this one out, because we're going to get into this a lot more in depth with the mock playoff special coming up next weekend already. But let's go through the Valley teams to wrap the question here, which is South Dakota, if they beat Southern Illinois, which is their final game of the season because they have a bye, they're in. They're going to be 8-4. They'll have 3 ranked wins. They're definitely an in team to answer for the Valley Chaos. Youngstown State is almost undoubtedly going to be in. They're 6-4. They've beaten Southern Illinois and Illinois State, and they're going to play Indiana State and UNI. They're going to beat both those teams. So Youngstown's going to be 8-4. They're going to be a playoff squad. Illinois State still has to go to South Dakota State this weekend. Huge game. And they're at home hosting Southern Illinois. Again, shout out Sam Herder for all this information. Follow him on Twitter. That would put them at 9-3, definitely a playoff team. Heck, at 8-4, they're probably a playoff team. So then you get to Southern Illinois, who has 0 ranked wins. They lose to South Dakota. They're absolutely out. They need to beat South Dakota to save their season, and that would put South Dakota State on very, very big high alert. So people who are like, break down the Valley Chaos, it's Southern Illinois versus South Dakota, which is going to determine possibly who's in or who's out. It's Illinois State going to South Dakota State as a going to force someone to be in or out. UND also at 6-4 still has to play Murray State, who they'll destroy, but then they host South Dakota State. So the reality is this: whoever beats whoever and avoids 5 losses is in the playoffs from the Valley, in my opinion. Agree, gentlemen? Yeah. You're at 4, you're in?
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't even think that's a question. 4 losses, you're in 100% from the Valley, and it'd be deserving this year.
I break it down each week, and I actually had some time today, so I went ahead and did some of my resume work. Obviously, North Dakota State's clinched, so they're obviously in. I still have right now South Dakota State because they've got 3 losses. I think they'll win a game. Them, and I actually have Illinois State both as safe. And then I've got North Dakota, Youngstown State, and South Dakota on the bubble. But I have Southern Illinois as a long shot because they've got to win both and need some help just because of the way their schedule laid out. So that's how I see the Valley.
Yeah, I think the Valley ultimately gets 5 teams in. I think there's going to probably be 2, maybe even potentially 3 5-loss teams. And again, Matt, you kind of said it, right? All you got to do really, if you're any of these Valley teams, you just got to win 1 game left. You just can't afford to lose both. And no one's going to lose both. I mean, not everyone's going to lose both. Someone's going to for sure. And again, you probably aren't in the playoffs that way. I think Jamie's kind of assumption is right there too. I think Southern Illinois is probably the one has the hardest shot. But again, if they upset, and let's say we have some crazy chaos and there's 6 teams that ends up with 4, I'm not going to fight it. I'll go, yeah, then it's deserving. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to get multiple 5, and I don't think it's going to happen in South Dakota State. I think like what Jamie just said, especially if Chase is healthy, they're going to get it together. They're going to win one of these next couple. And I think that's going to solidify it. And then they're in the playoffs. And then all of this is a mute talking point. But again, 5 losses, 3-5, 5 losses on the row. You just don't deserve it. That's the reality. I mean, you still might get it because there's a lot of chaos. But deserving and getting it is 2 separate things. And I would, again, I'm fighting the committee tooth and nail. Put out those Dukes, baby. The real Dukes, the number 24, because the number 24 Dukes wouldn't allow that shit to happen.
You damn right.
Get the shout out at the end of it. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go into a lot of Brawl, Bobcat, Griz talk in the top 6 topics. After this question, we want to figure out the Southland and the CAA a little bit. And that's Tim's question. So Tim comes in with, how do you see the Southland CAA playoff races playing out? The Rev tosses in an assist here with the Southland shenanigans is back as the Lions lose to Lamar, and now the conference championship is Saturday in Nacho Land. What are your thoughts on the game? So All right, so Jamie, let's break it down here. Let's go with the Southland. Let's go with Lamar and them, since that's the majority of the question. We'll do the CA second. What's our
Okay, hold on.
breakdown there? As I
Hold
pull
on,
up the
let me-
standings.
Let me go to Southland. You switch a rooting on me. I thought you were going to CA first. All right. So yeah, Southland is pretty straightforward. If this week if SFA beats Lamar, they clinch it. They move on. They go into the playoffs. I still think, like I said earlier, I think Lamar is probably safe now. A couple of ranked wins, only one FCS loss right now. They could have a second one. So I think Lamar probably gets in. Southeast Louisiana, I think, just eliminated themselves. As much as I hate to say it, with just that one FCS loss, I don't know that there's anything there to say, yep, that team's going to get in, because they just haven't played anybody. And, it matters. It matters. Let's see. Where's their strength?
I want to argue that one a little bit.
Go for it.
The reason is because we're just talking about 5 lost teams getting in, right? We're going to have, if SLU wins the next 2, and I get it, the strength of schedule sucks. They did not beat anyone ranked, right? And that is a real argument. But they'd be sitting at 9-3 with 1 FCS loss, 2 FBS losses. You're telling me that they wouldn't deserve, I get the schedule, it is what it is, that they wouldn't deserve to represent, and then the Southland becomes a 3-bid conference over, we're talking about a team who lost 5 in a row, who's 3-5 in conference.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm thinking, what's the committee going to do? And their strength of schedule 60, which is not awful. They got a good
mid of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they'll remain in the rankings this week. Probably so. I just still think they're a long shot. I think they're going to get McNeese, and is the way we have been talking. If we were the committee, we were going to reward the teams that win their games to a certain degree.
Correct.
But I just don't see. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like Southeastern's going to get in there to me. It just doesn't.
I would say
I've got them as a long shot.
And it's fair. I mean, they got to win out to even have it. But I think they haven't played themselves out yet. I think they'd be a bubble team, and it's just going to kind of happen to see what the rest of the nation is going to do. But normally, I care about strength of schedule, quite a bit. But also, it matters when they have a similar record or maybe even 1 loss type of a difference. This would be talking about a team that has 4 less FCS losses than some of the other teams that are getting in, 4 less. That's what's pretty wild.
The metrics do kind of like Southeastern either way, and I think it's because they have been, and it's been kind of a common theme, a team that doesn't play a real tough schedule, but they really obliterate them. And by my metric, which only looks at FCS point differential, they're number 4.
Right.
They're the 4th best team on point differential in the FCS behind North Dakota State, Tarleton, and Montana State.
That's good company for being a playoff team.
Yeah. So would I put them in? Probably. Is the committee going to? Probably not.
Well, Ron Lowney says, does the Southland get 3 bids, 2 bids, or 1 bid? That's a good question. 2. That's going to be answered on next week's episode on the mock playoff special, which will be live next week. Don't miss it. The Lamar and SFA game is huge. Before we kick into the CAA, I want to finalize that one for you, Jamie and Kyler. Are we feeling confident that at home SFA is going to take that game?
I am.
I think so. Yeah.
They appear to be the most balanced team all around. And offensively, defensively, they're playing great ball. They are our background as well. Shout out to the Rev. Okay, so what about the CAA, Jamie and Kyler? I guess, Kyler, I'll give you this one. This one should be very straightforward in terms of who wins it, yet they have a lot of teams at the top with similar records. To break that down a little bit, as we're looking at, Rhode Island is 8-2, Villanova 7-2, Monmouth 8-2, who's tripping up a little bit with a quarterback injury. How's that conference going to play out?
I mean, it looks like it's Rhode Island's now to go, but the interesting thing is Maine's not going to be an easy place to play. Rhode Island still has to go to Maine, right? And Maine's
playing good ball too,
right? So that's where it does get a little interesting, and it's maybe not a gimme, because now if, let's say, Maine does upset Rhode Island, and I don't even know what the spread would be, but it's not going to be much. Probably a 5.5 type of spread. That's not going to be much. But if Maine ends up upsetting Rhode Island, because they are playing good ball, it's pretty far away from everyone. That's not going to be an easy environment to play. Then you're looking at, a real 4-way tie at the top. And I don't know how I don't know what the tiebreakers would be at that point because the CAA is so big. And I mean, Jamie, you might have to pull up your old term expertise back in the day because I'm not watching Flow to figure out what the rules are going to be for this tiebreaker. You're just going to have to figure it out for me. But that's where this can be extremely exciting. And then if Maine upsets Rhode Island, I don't know who Maine's next game is. Do they play a Villanova or Monmouth, or does it get a little easier?
Let's see. I'll tell you.
Maine's going to
New Hampshire. Shoot, that's not an easy game. A nice rivalry game
at New Hampshire. Yeah, that's always a tough one.
If they win out, you're looking at the CA getting 4 bids instead of what we were thinking maybe was 2 or 3, which would be pretty wild. So that's also going to take another Missouri Valley bid away. Now, if Maine loses Rhode Island, which I think we're all probably going to pick Rhode Island to do that, then CA probably looks like a 3-bid, conference. But that's the interesting game. I mean, Monmouth didn't look great last night. That was pretty shocking. But Villanova looks like a strong, almost a lock. Rhode Island looks like a lock. Monmouth still looks like a lock to me. But that Rhode Island Maine game is super, intriguing. And then Maine versus New Hampshire, the rivalry game to end the season. Those are the 2 games. If you're in the CA or you're a fan of the CA and you want to waste money and watch Flow, that's when you pay attention. You watch Maine football the next 2 weeks to see what type of chaos they can endure, the Black Bears in the CA conference.
Honestly, in years past, when we've done that mock playoff special, I have felt like, okay, the games we need to predict should be pretty simplistic, and a lot of that stays consistent. There's a lot of week 13 games technically that are going to change everything that we are going to attempt to predict next week. And between the CAA and the Southland, that will be the question. 3 teams or 4 teams, Southland, 2 teams or 3 teams.
Yeah.
That is where we sit, Tim, trying to figure those conferences out.
Here's the thing, and we're all going to puke.
Oh, no.
CAA has a chance to have 5 teams at 4 losses or less.
No.
They have
What
a
would be
shot.
the other one? I didn't even look.
William & Mary.
William & Mary.
William & Mary has
Can we pull up
Hampton
William
and
& Mary's schedule?
I'm bringing them
William
up.
& Mary, they've got Hampton and Richmond. Hampton on the road, which who cares, and Richmond at home, who stinks. William & Mary has
can
a
we tie it
win
back?
over Maine.
Let's look at William & Mary's full schedule and then go, would you put them in over a 9-3 SLU?
So they
Probably
would
shouldn't.
have
You should
they would
not.
have a 1-point win over said Maine on September 6th.
Lost
was
to
there.
Furman.
They lost to Furman. They then get blown out to FBS Virginia. They then beat Charleston Southern, lose to Villanova, beat NCA&T. Oh, man. But look at these wins. NCA&T, they win by
They're
4.
terrible.
Elon,
Yep.
they win by 5. They
At
lose
least
to New Hampshire
SLU's
by
blowing
10.
out people.
They win in overtime against Campbell, 30
They were
to
down.
27.
They were down 24-13 with 2 minutes left in that game yesterday.
They don't have a single game where they win by more than 7 points except for Charleston Southern and Albany. Everything else is 6 or less points for a victory. I mean, I hate to say it. I think I'd take a 5-loss Valley team over that if they had one ranked quality win. Because
Would you take a 1 FCS loss team over that? SLU?
Oh, absolutely. 1,000%.
You know what all this means?
Every day of
Next
the
week,
week.
Chaos.
So much fun.
It's
Next
going to
week's
be fun. It's going to be a good time.
But that's
There's
what I'm saying.
chaos.
It's like you look at the CAA and you're just like, oh God, here we go again. I think they've got 3 solid. I think.
Do you know what the
Monmouth already
tiebreaker is?
I
Off the top of your
don't.
head. And again, maybe someone in the comments does or can look it
Yeah,
up for us because we record
I mean,
this
generally,
live, so it's
obviously,
not
the
like we
head to
prep.
head.
Because
It's
I'm excited. And I'm rooting for Maine to upset Rhode Island. I want that little bit of chaos. But
It's-
then again, I think it's going to be a 14 tiebreaker.
It's probably going to be okay. Who did all 4 of these teams play all the same? And see.
I
who
think
had-
they
had
kind
the
of
best.
rotated the wins.
Yeah, but like the CAA has 56 teams, so they can only play 8 of them.
Yeah,
So-
that's fair.
They've probably only got 2 or 3 common opponents that match all 4 of those teams. If
Right,
that.
for sure.
So I think it's going to matter. So
That would actually be a fair tiebreaker too. Like, all right, out of the top 4, here's the one who won the most.
By the way, the mock playoff special, the best part about it is we get an opportunity to really set the most chaotic things to happen. So it will force a fake committee discussion in the hardest scenarios. And we'll
but not
learn
in the
more
Chris
from them.
Hammond way.
No, not the Chris
No.
Hammond way. Not too much chaos. Like that's not fun. But you know what's going to cause chaos, guys? It's going to be the Brawl of the Wild in a way we're not thinking about until we get to question 4, because we're going to start with question 3. We're not really going to talk about the Brawl because we're going to have the mock playoff special, and that's going to be the episode next week, and that's going to end. So this is going to be our open format now from Mr. Eric to say 2 weeks away from the greatest rivalry in the FCS happening in Missoula. I would agree. Who is looking like they will walk away with the Big Sky auto bid and possibly the 2 seed, and why? All right, Kyler Neal, the Brawl, the Wild. Let's all go with it, and we will predict it on the mock playoffs special next week. But let's break the game down.
I mean, you have, again, everyone knows about this game. If you're an FCS fan in general, maybe you're not a big time FCS fan, but if you're watching this podcast, wasting your Sunday evening with us three knuckleheads, you're probably a fanatic for the FCS. So I appreciate you. So we all know how big this rivalry game is. It's intense. Most people who are not fans are going to be watching it too, as long as you love, FCS ball. Right now it's winner gets the 2 seed unless NDSU somehow craps the bed, which I don't think they are. Winner gets the 2 seed and they get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. That is the cool, intense rivalry game with so much on the line. You win your Big Sky, you win the conference, you get the auto bid, and you get a 2 seed home field advantage throughout the whole playoffs. What more could you ask for at the end of the season to have a game like this? Now, when we're looking at it, the Cats look like a better team right now. I would say Montana arguably right now has a better resume, and if the season ended today, I would put them as my 2 seed. But I have been ranking Montana State above the Griz in my actual rankings, my top 25 that I submit to Redshirts, unless I changed it last week, but I don't think I did because I think Montana State has been playing better most of the season than the Griz. I mean, if you just look at common opponents, they're absolutely smashing them. It's not even similar. But this game's interesting because even though Montana's defense is not looking up to par compared to what maybe their defense has done the last few years, they do have a fun offense. They do have talent on the offense that Montana hasn't really had in previous years. They have an electric running back in Gilman. They got the Swiss Army knife in Wortham. Ayat is actually playing some pretty dang good football when we were all kind of a little shocked by it. He's playing some pretty dang good football. One thing about their defense too is even though they're giving up big plays, they blitz. And I don't know, most people have not seen that type of pressure. They blitz, like it seems like 85, 90% of the game. I know that's not the reality, but holy crap, do they get to the quarterback? Luckily, their DBs are not playing the best, so there's a couple wide open wide receivers. So as long as the quarterback can stay composed, he's going to hit some of those guys. But if he's not going to get composed, he gets rattled because he's getting smacked around. That's where the Griz just start to take advantage of a lot of teams in the second half. This was a rare second half that we saw this Saturday with my Eagles, where that's the only team that didn't get rattled. Every other team that's played Montana in the second half has been absolutely rattled, and Montana started slow, but the team gets rattled. They're not as effective in the second half. That's where Montana starts to pick them apart. Montana State is well coached. Montana State has a lot of talent. Montana State, they're playing what they're supposed to do, and they're just running the ball. They're throwing. They're doing everything. Their defense is lights out right now. So if I had to pick, I know we're going to pick it next week, but I think if the Montana State Bobcats play their game, they should be the favorite coming into this game. They should have the upper hand. They should have the odds to win, but we also can't count out Griz. Last time Montana State came to Griz, I'm pretty sure it was a blowout, right? I could be wrong, but it seems like every time they come to Griz, Montana's getting the upper hand. Montana State really struggles at Griz. Again, I could be wrong on that, so bear with me, and I apologize if I am. But it seems like the Cats have not played good at Griz for a while.
Yeah, I think Montana State is playing the best of anybody in the FCS right now. And you're right, Kyle. It was 37-7 2 years ago in Griz, Montana. So, yeah.
And those are two good teams, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like Montana State was a crappy team. Now, maybe they're not as good as they are this year.
Montana went to the title game. But I think as Montana State has just gotten better, and they're kind of that snowball rolling downhill. Justin Lamson has really found himself playing good. I think he's over 2,000 yards already. He's only thrown 2 interceptions, I believe.
Yeah.
And he's got a nose for the end zone. When they get down inside the 5, I think he's under 4 yards a carry, but he's just like when he was at Stanford setting records. He's got 8 rushing touchdowns. So Lamson's not Tommy Malott by any stretch, but he is putting that team in position, and they're hammering people like they should. They got UC Davis this week. We'll learn a lot more about Montana State this week, and then we'll really know about them when they go to Griz next week. So, yeah, I mean, the winner of the Brawl is the 2 seed. You can book it. I mean, obviously, if Montana State loses this week and then wins the Brawl, they're probably not. but there's a solid chance that it doesn't matter. Just whoever wins the brawl is 2 and whoever loses it is 3. Because I think there's a big gap between North Dakota State, Montana, and then everybody else right now. So we'll see how that winds up.
It feels a lot like last year with the South Dakota State, North Dakota State, when they met in their rivalry game, and then the rest of the season played out. Now this will be the end of the season where it's like, okay, who's the 2, who's the 3? Because there's this outlier, which was Montana State last year, that was just blowing the brakes off of everybody and looking really good. It's that same style of scenario, and I'm going to give Jamie home field advantage where the Taco King can't talk to bounce off what I'm about to say. But before I get to that, Montana State. Total offense, Montana is 5th. Montana State's 14th. Total defense, Montana State is currently ranked 10th. Montana, 86.
Yeah.
So that's all I really need to know, besides the fact that the Griz have literally survived over and over again and just pulled off the survival mode to escape games. I'm going to take the hot team regardless of the environment against the 86 ranked defense. I just don't know how home field advantage stops that. I know weird things happen in rivalry games. I really like the Cats in this matchup. I wouldn't fear the Griz coming to the Fargo Dome, hypothetically, or in Frisco, especially since it's in Nashville. So, but Jamie, I'm going to give you the floor. Let's say that Montana State, and this will be a discussion next week, but let's get this one out of the way, because we were DM and Taco King, and this one was hot, hot, hot. If Montana State beats the Griz, and the Griz and Tarleton are both 11-1, who's the 3 and who's the 4 in that scenario, in your opinion?
It's going to be tough. I could probably make the argument either way, but I feel like Tarleton needed to have beaten Abilene Christian to be ahead of Montana. So either way, I know Army, the FBS win, holds a lot of water. But if Montana loses to Montana State, I still think from an FCS standpoint, Montana is still going to have the best win for sure, which will be North Dakota. They'll have the best loss for sure, which would be Montana State.
Yep.
We had the argument when Tarleton was undefeated. I was making that case. I can't make it now because if you look at Tarleton's schedule, what is their best FCS win? I think it might be Southern Utah. They're 5-5.
Yeah.
And they beat them when they were in the midst of that 5-game losing streak. So I don't know. I don't see a way that Tarleton jumps Montana. I really don't, unless the Griz get just completely mollywopped at home by the Cats, and they very well might. And so we'll see.
I think as long as the Griz win one more game, they're almost locked into a 3. I don't even think if they lose 90-3 that they would not be the 3 seed. Now they're not going to lose 93, but I wanted to, because this is a weird stat, Matt, and I think you'd like to appreciate it because you love to look at the stats. So like even in the Big Sky, Montana is dead last for passing defense in the Big Sky, but they're also 3rd in passing efficiency defense,
really?
Which is wild. So again, they have been effective in what they're doing.
Yeah.
But it's weird. I don't think I've ever seen that where they're dead last in the Big Sky in terms of passing defense, but number 3 in the Big Sky in passing efficiency defense. So they're giving up yards, but they're still efficient at it. They're turning over the ball. They have playmakers who get picks. I'm sure that helps. So even if you're giving up quite a bit of yards, because that's all total defense is, it's just yards, but it doesn't tell the whole story, right? But if you're shutting them down in the red zone, if you're shutting them down typically on 3rd down, they didn't yesterday, holy shit. But if you're shutting them down on 3rd downs and you're shutting them down in the red zone and you're getting picks, well, who cares about yards? Because now you're stalling those drives anyway.
That's
all it really matters is scoring defense. How many points you give up?
For sure.
And Justin Lamson, like, let's not pretend that this guy just is not been talked about at all. It's just like, let's not talk about Justin Lamson. And I don't know why. It's not like Montana State's rushing offense is this absolute freakish monster from years past. It's a top 5 rushing offense. They've gone for 2,300 yards on the season. They're just above North Dakota State there. Lehigh, 2,300. The best rushing offense is Delaware State at 2,800 rushing yards. I'm rounding up. And 2,300 for Montana State. But Justin Lamson has just quietly thrown 18 touchdown passes, thrown for 2,000 yards, and is top 15 in quarterback efficiency in the FCS. So that's a
Pretty dang
balanced
good.
offense. Everyone wants to talk about Cole Payton for Payton, which is not happening, by the way. Justin Lamson.
We're going to get there later. Don't go too far.
Just saying, Justin Lamson has 18 touchdowns, 2 picks. Cole Payton has 11 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions. So, I mean, what the Bobcats are becoming underneath Fegan this year is as impressive as what North Dakota State has maintained and done. And they dealt with a lot more turnover. Just shout out to the Bobcats. I'll be very shocked to see them go lose down there. Now, these next couple questions roll into each other besides the last one that Jamie mentioned. Keith says, with your mock playoff special around the corner, can you talk fallout to the seeding for the Brawl the Wild? This will be a quick one, and then we're going to roll right into question 5 because it connects. But my question is, we answered what happens to the Griz if they lose. We just think 3-3-3. What happens to Montana State if they lose? And we're not going to probably play that hypothetical, I assume, on the mock playoff special next week. I guess that's your preview. What do you guys think? If you have a 2 FCS loss to undefeated Griz and close South Dakota State, which is a different shell of itself, and an FBS loss to Oregon, where do they go amongst these weaker undefeated teams? Don't get into them much because that's the next question, but what's the fallout? What do you got?
They go behind Tarleton. They go behind probably Lehigh and Tennessee Tech. So I say they slide into 6 because I don't see somebody like a Mercer or a Rhode Island passing them or UC Davis. So, I mean, if UC Davis beats them, obviously they would. But
Right.
So I think 6 sounds like almost a sweet spot.
It seems like a pretty harmful fall to lose one game, but that result of that overtime matchup against South Dakota State early is just such a killer early on.
Yeah, I mean, that loss is, whether Chase Mason is playing or not, that loss looks worse now. It just does. A little
absolutely.
bit worse, you know?
Especially having a home game. Do you see them, Kyler? Is that 6 the sweet spot or anything that could really change that?
Yeah, before Jamie was even talking, I was thinking it's probably going to lie anywhere between 5 and 7. So I mean, 6 is right in the middle there, so it makes a lot of sense. But I'd say 5 and 7. I don't still know if you reward Tennessee Tech over them, just because the strength of schedule will be like 97. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if you still reward Tennessee Tech over them as well. But I think they would still be locked in no matter what as a top 8 seed. And I think they would have a higher chance to even be above 7 than they would be, below 6. So yeah, I would say 6 is a pretty fair estimate of if they lose the Brawl, that's probably where they're sitting. I wouldn't anticipate they'd still be a 3. I think the Griz, as long as they win next week, they locked up a 3. I don't think it's the same thing with Montana State.
Okay, so we're going to expand. That was question 4 of the top 6 topics, and it splits Keith's question into 5. This will be a lot more discussion from that one. He says also, if the Cats do win, besides the 2 Montanas, Tarleton and NDSU, with all the losses of other teams, are Lehigh, Harvard, Tennessee Tech, and Mercer going to be locks to be top 8 seeds? Let's break this down a little bit. North Dakota State is likely to be 12-0 undefeated. Lehigh likely defeated. Montana is going to have 1 loss. Tennessee Tech is going to get blown up here against Kentucky this week, so they'll have an FBS loss, but they'll be FCS undefeated, and Harvard should finish undefeated as well. Then it's like, okay, who could take seeds from them? 2 lost Monmouth, 2 lost Villanova, 2 lost Rhode Island. None of them will play each other the last 2 weeks. SFA with 2 losses? No. UC Davis will be at 3 losses when they lose to Montana State. So that's the question. Is these seemingly weaker teams in lower conferences with undefeated records going to nab the top 8 seeds? What do you think, Kyler? Is it lining up to where that actually could happen?
Yeah, as long as they take care of business. I think it's closer to a lock than it's not, as long as they take care of business. Now, if they drop a game, they're going to drop completely far down the seedings in the playoff realm. But if they win out Harvard, Tennessee Tech, Tarleton, who else did we just say? Lehigh. If they win out, they're probably going to lock up those last 4 seeds, and I think it's almost a guarantee.
And what about you got like Mercer, who's at 1
I think
loss?
they would just be outside of it. They're going to hope for, because that Mercer loss is still Presbyterian. That does not look good. I would take an undefeated FCS team over those for sure.
Yeah, the thing about Mercer too is again, 1 less game. It's not their fault that the storm happened, but you know what is their fault? not playing their best quarterback for the first 2 games of the year, and they
For
lost
sure.
one of them. So had they not done that, they score more than 10 points against Presbyterian, and it doesn't matter because we're talking about an undefeated Mercer team, and we're probably talking about a top 5 team the way they're playing.
Right.
I was shocked to look at this when after the question came in and I looked at this, I'm like, holy crap, there are so many perceived strong conference teams with 2-3 losses. And normally we just see these, I dare say, Presbyterian trip ups, where you're like, okay, there's the loss for Tennessee Tech, and now they'll be like a 9 or 10 seed, but it's not going that way. And do you see, I want to ask this even further into this question. What does that do for a Lehigh at home in comparison to a 4-loss Valley team coming into there, for Tennessee Tech at home, for 4-loss CAA team coming in there, Big Sky 3-loss 4 team this? Do you, if you're filling out your bracket, will you have faith in these teams, or are you going to be thinking it's upset central there, Kyler? I see you smirking.
I think, and I hope it happens, right? Because it's going to be really fun. Last year we didn't have a lot of upsets. Last year in March Madness, there was almost no upsets. If you have these teams as high seeds, I think if we ask Jamie, if we ask you, we'd be shocked to see many of them jump into the quarters. Not all of them. I'm sure some of them will, depending on the matchups, right? But yeah, we'd be circling in some fun upsets for sure. Now, maybe that's just because there's perceived bias, and maybe, Lehigh's as strong as their record shows, right? I know they have a 97 strength of schedule, so we'll have to see. That's quite a bit less than Southeastern Louisiana, right? That's 30 spots, almost 40 spots less. So it will be fun, but I mean, Lehigh is doing business. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're taking care of their opponents, and if they finish undefeated, they're going to deserve a top 8 seed. It is what it is, but yeah, I'd be circling a Tennessee Tech game depending on the matchup, unless it's like a low tier CA. Then I'll probably lean Tennessee Tech a little bit, but I will be definitely focusing on these games, circling them, waiting to see what the matchup is. And you better believe, because the committee doesn't, or the betting sites don't really know what's going on in the FCS. I'm going to be spending some money, and I'm going to be making some money in the FCS playoffs. So some of these upsets.
Yeah, well, Western Carolina cost me a lot of money yesterday, so F them.
Oh, rest in peace.
That's my one parlay I lost because of them too.
Yep.
Rest in peace to the parlay. Too good. Well, I like Taco King's comment here where he says, give me YSU over Tennessee Tech. Yeah, I think there's a lot of dangerous teams that would be licking their chops to be able to travel.
Now, is this the same YSU that struggles versus Robert Morris, or the same one that does good against Valley teams? Because it seems like it's the same team.
Yeah.
I think that might be a 50-50 game.
We're going to see. And you know what? Some people might win the playoff bracket challenge by signing up for 99 cents on FCS Gold to participate in the link below in the YouTube description. Make sure you do that. All right, Jamie, time to shine and time for Kyler to criticize or agree, because our final one here comes from the Rev. Between Brungar, Dickens, and Peyton, whose star is shining brightest for the Walter Payton Award? I will save you the time that I have to go with Brian Thompson here. Peyton unpaytoned himself the last 2 games. Yes, it was probably a little bit of a stretch to begin with, but my dear North Dakota State quarterback is not going to be a Walter Payton finalist at this point. However, Jamie Williams, you probably have a list of people and your opinions on it as a stats voter and official voter on the award. Time to let everyone know how you think about the Walter Payton Award with 2 weeks to go.
I think there's a lot of guys still really in the running for this, but I'm starting to feel like Bo Brungard kind of separated himself. I would really make a huge and heavy case, and I'm still going to have on my ballot Teron Dickens, but he missed the first 3 games, and it wasn't for injury, so I have to punish him a little. Although he's probably still going to help damn near lead the country in passing touchdowns. Unfortunately, Derek Robinson got hurt. That sucks for him. He's injured, so that's going to hurt him. Cole Payton has kind of just not had good games the last couple of weeks, but he's still the engine that makes the number 1 team go. Kiali Yacht, I think he's got a very strong case to get on some ballots. I don't know if he'll be on mine. And then I'm going to give you a couple running backs just because I feel like that's the kind of thing. I just lost a dude's daggum name. The guy from Monmouth, the running back, Rodney, leads the country in rushing yards. There we go. Rodney Nelson. Gosh, I was going to say Rodney Hampton, but that shows how old I am. He played in the NFL a long time ago. So Rodney Nelson has just kind of been the guy that's carried Monmouth since Robertson got injured. And if you look right below him right there, call me a homer, I don't care. Joshua Dye is he's the reason that Southern Utah has won 5 games in a row. Leads the country with 22 rushing touchdowns as well. Also, shout out offensive line coach of Southern Utah, Matt White, for Targi Lamson and Josh Dye back-to-back years to darn near almost lead the country in rushing. Targi did in the regular season. Josh is close, but I definitely think Brungard is starting to separate himself a little bit from Dickens, who's separating himself from Peyton. And then the rest of those guys just are fighting for 3, 4, 5.
It is.
And then
I think
don't give up on Eli Gilman either.
Jamie, what stands out to me is when you look at these rankings right now, this is rushing total yards that you're
Look
seeing
at
on the
Bo.
total site. And I see running back, quarterback, Bo Brungard, 4th in the nation, 1,145 rushing yards.
Also 18 touchdowns.
Rushing touchdowns. And then look, I'm going to hit back on my screen. Click. And now we're on total offense for he's responsible for 3,572 yards as a quarterback, 357.2 yards per game. I mean, now I'm going to go to his passing yards. I think that's becoming quite the separation.
Yeah, he's the only reason why YSU is even in the discussion right now. He's down there for passing yards because
there he is.
He's a full weapon. But here's where you also got to give him credit. So he's also has a receiving touchdown. Most people aren't even aware of that. He's got 37 total touchdowns.
Yeah,
as a runner, he is elite. 1,100 yards as a quarterback.
It's very Josh Allen
passing. 18 and 18 for touchdowns. That is ridiculous. I like what Jamie was saying because if maybe Western Carolina played their best quarterback throughout the whole season, maybe it's a whole different game. But I think Bo is standing above himself. That is one hell of a season, and I don't think the next 2 games he's going to have to put his team on the back too to kind of win out those next 2 games. He's really going to have to give it his all. So I think we're going to see him just elevate it, and he's probably looking at. I mean, he's guaranteed to probably be. He's over 40 touchdowns by the end of the season for sure. He's probably going to be closer to 45 total touchdowns.
He's got I know
4,000, 4,200 total yards.
Kyler, I got to push on you a little bit. I think this is rightfully so for you to kind of make this super small hiccup, which is the Valley Chaos got the best of you there. Youngstown has the easiest map the next 2 games.
Fair enough.
He's going to blow. He should blow these stats.
Well, then that even makes it better. Maybe he gets to 50 total touchdowns.
He might
in the next few games in 5,000 yards.
Dude, he's at home against Indiana State next week, and then they go to Northern Iowa, who is absolute trash.
What are you talking about? Trash. You're talking about a team that beat a team. We're talking about getting a playoff bid at 3-5. We're talking about elite of the elite, Indiana State, baby.
Here's the thing: is I think with those final 2 games, he easily eclipses 45 touchdowns. So he's at 37 now.
He deserves it.
I can't see how anybody touches him at that point. If he's over 45 touchdowns, Jamie, who would even be in the conversation to take it from him?
Nobody's taking it from him. They're all playing for second place at that point. I think he's already separated himself enough. If he winds up at 45, I mean, he's put that team on his back. He darn near carried him to a win against both Dakota States back when South Dakota State was at full song. I think both games were 35-30, if I'm thinking correctly.
Yeah, 38-30, 35-30, and
30,
the way he manages that offense and what the coaching staff is doing with him, he's just a pure weapon. He had NDSU's defense in hell all day long, and without special team blunders, they probably win that game. So
now, can we ask this question? I know we always run a little long, so I apologize. If Dickens plays 3 extra games, that's where that could have been fun to see.
He wouldn't have any of the rushing, obviously, but he's going to have the passing.
No, but he would have had
ridiculous
45 passing TDs alone
easily
if he played 3 extra games. I mean, that would have been a real Cole Kelly, Eric Berrier season where you're looking at it going, "Ooh, this is actually fun to watch."
Yeah, good luck.
Bo's a front runner right now. I'm a little annoyed because it seems like he's not getting a lot of love in the national media. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just haven't seen the articles, but he deserves a lot more love than what the FCS national media has been lack of giving him so far.
I could not agree more. And we get the
Completely agree.
Youngstown State podcast guys are always tagging us and tweeting with us on Twitter. I hope they catch this episode because the guy deserves his recognition. And no one's going to be betting on this podcast that he's not going to win it. So we will not be betting tacos on the Walter Payton. We've got a different one, though, tonight.
Taco King, coming to you from bright and sunny Fargo, North Dakota. It's time for a taco bet, and time for you losers to pay up.
Oh, we're going to live stream this puppy because I don't know what made Taco King think of this question. I can't think of one scenario where him and I have really talked arm wrestling or working out or anything. In our years of friendship, I don't have an example, but out of nowhere, Brian Thompson says, Matt and Taco have a leg wrestling contest. Who wins and what is the betting line? So the betting line is, I guess you'd probably have to do something of like, how long till you think the winner taps the other person's leg? If you don't know leg wrestling, both legs go up and you try to flip the other human over. I would have gone Brian Thompson just based off of stature, for weight class, but he's been on that carnivore diet and he is slimming down, not doubting his strength and his mental fortitude. But I think it might be closer than people think. Also, Allison thinks my thighs are pretty sexy, so that's one of my best traits. So I gotta say, I kind of think I might hold my own here, but I'll leave the experts to say. Jamie, what do you think? I'll live stream it on Twitter. Taco versus Matt leg wrestling contest after a few beers in Nashville. Jamie, who takes that sucker?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Brian might be like a minus 120, but and you'd be like a plus 120, but it might be worth throwing some money on you. I think you got a shot there, buddy. If anybody knows those thighs, it's Allison.
Yeah, there you go. Kyler, what do you got?
Here's the deal. Matt will probably have a little. He probably will have a little bit of the leverage, right? He is a lanky little dude. But what I would say is also, I have seen him get in a hot tub. I have seen him get in a pool. I would bet the house on Brian Thompson winning any type of leg wrestling, pinky wrestling, war with Matthew Frazee. I love you. But one of his legs is arguably, even with his carnivore diet, probably 80% of your weight, Matt. And I know you've been working out. You've been a strong guy this year, right? You were putting hours in the gym. So, maybe in Nashville, it's just going to be Marine Matt again. But I have a good feeling that I would put the over-under at maybe 1.5 seconds. And I would give it to Brian Thompson, and I would bet all of the tacos that he's going to bet this season on him taking the win, buddy.
Of course, I'm going to bet on myself, and I'll make this story really fast. And I think I've said it to you guys before. In the last days of the Crucible and Marine Corps boot camp, you have to get in like this square little box, basically, and you just have boxing gloves and the helmet, and you just go in and you just beat each other to hell. Somebody comes out, wins. And as I'm going to go in, it's random. The other guy they send in from the other platoon, he walks in. He's got to be 6'6" and 280 pounds. He is massive. And my drill instructor's he's like, you better not let me down, Recruit Frazee. You better not let me down. He's like, you will not fail me. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to get my ass beat. And that's exactly what happened. That guy beat daylights out of me. It was done in like 12 seconds. They were like, okay, all right, that's enough. But it was just random. He walks through. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So it might end up like that.
Here's the thing, though, Matt. Brian's 45 years old. That hammy's going to pop, baby.
That hammy's going to pop.
It's true.
Because I can feel my own just thinking about it popping. I've never even thought about trying to leg wrestle, but I don't know. Maybe I'll jump in there, too.
Too good. Yeah,
let's bring in Stumper.
Oh, yeah. I ain't going to challenge him whatsoever. All right, gentlemen. That contest is going to end quick, so we'll get to the quick hits.
Just because your question is answered quickly doesn't mean we don't care. It's time for this week's quick hit questions.
Gentlemen, getting into the quick hits, Grady kicks us off right here, and he goes with, what weaknesses have the Bison shown in the last two games, and how can teams expose those weaknesses in the playoffs? I've spoken on this a little bit where I've said I don't believe this NDSU team is a 2013, 2018 NDSU or a 2023 SDSU where it's like just wipe the season, because there are a few factors there, including youth. The biggest thing I say that NDSU doesn't have, and it was kind of this way last year, but Chamar Brown, I think, covered up a lot of it, is they don't have a dominant up the middle run game. That absolute punishing guard center force that just moves 4.5, 5 yards cloud of dust, it really has not existed all season. I can't even count how many breakaway runs the running backs have had that have been 30 or 40 yards. It is a lot of Cole Payton magic. And what UND and Youngstown have done the last 2 weeks have found ways to utilize linebackers to say, okay, you're going to beat us, Cole, from throwing directly in the pocket, but we're not going to let those running backs go. We're not going to let you get on the outside. And it's worked extremely well. So there you go. That would be the weakness. Now I need to go off on this a little bit. Let's talk about outside factors of football. I don't think anybody would have taken NDSU to be undefeated up to this point, all the way through the Valley and all the games. Were they always bound to start looking through injury and wear and tear a little vulnerable against South Dakota State, Youngstown, who looks good, and then at UND, which is a house of horrors for North Dakota State to play in? Now what's going to happen? What's going to happen is they're going to play UNI at home. They're going to play St. Thomas at home. They're going to get a bye. That means for the next 28 days, if they got to rest someone, if they're questionable, or if they want to test something, NDSU has 28 days to play with. And then where one team, Jamie Williams, great James Madison Dukes, have come in the entire history and beat North Dakota State and Fargo. So there might be vulnerabilities there. The question is, do you trust someone to come in and play the perfect game? Not Youngstown, who couldn't play defense, and not UND, who couldn't play offense against them. The perfect, flawless game of rested, conditioned North Dakota State through December? I would bet not.
And that's what it takes, Matt. And that's what you see. Every single time you feel like NDSU's on the ropes, their opponent turns the ball over. And when I say their opponent turns the ball over, NDSU usually makes the play. Trust me, I've seen one against my team. The one yesterday, that interception at the end, somebody makes a play on defense. They could have gotten just burnt toast like Jalen Ramsey all game, but they'll make a play when it matters. And the other teams make the mistakes, and NDSU doesn't, and that's been their calling card even when they've struggled. They've had their C game the last 2 weeks, and they still won. So I know that NDSU fan base is fretting because they've had two subpar performances, and they want to kick this guy to the curb and that guy to the curb. But shut up. You're on the
I think North Dakota State is going to be just fine. I don't think anyone is going to worry about it. If anyone's going to do it, when you talk about Bison circles, all the bias, everyone again is like, probably Montana State is going to give us the biggest hurdle to maybe go undefeated and win the championship. So since that's a quick one, we'll move past the Bison and we'll get right into JMC, who says, what 0-loss team will finish the season with a perfect record? Jay, just doing the research here, NDSU should be undefeated. We think Montana is likely to lose to Montana State. Tennessee Tech is going to lose to Kentucky. So that leaves Harvard and Lehigh. Tyler, Harvard and Lehigh should run the table?
Yeah, they should run the table. But also the season doesn't end at the end of the regular season.
Yeah,
so
Jay.
NDSU is
Jay's question definitely, I'm going to assume, was for a perfect record all the way through. I kind of made it fun and just said regular season. Your regular
season, I think those are the teams that you're gonna. I don't see a loss on Harvard. I don't see a loss on Lehigh.
I could see Harvard or Lehigh potentially losing their last game in big rivalry games, Yale and Lafayette, respectfully. I could see it. I don't expect it. Although,
all right.
We know Ref's calling a shot on Lafayette, who is a decent team.
Yes, he is. It appears there will be a large number of 7-5 bubble teams. Will 7-5 be enough to get anyone in the playoff field, says Wade. We kind of covered this one, but 5 does put you in the conversation with the right conference. Is that the take there, Kyler?
Yeah, I think we're going to definitely see a 7-5 team. I just hope we don't see multiple.
All right.
7-5. Yeah.
Might get one of them. Do all 4 Dakota schools make it on, or is one left on the outside? Perhaps the only one who plays outside, says the Rev. We'll use that one as a preview. Check in next week. We will predict the games and watch the mock playoff special. Michael's playoff questions. Michael's a great FCS Gold member. He had 3 in a row. All right, Jamie, I'm going to rattle them for you. You ready?
Yep.
Did Lamar just punch their ticket to the playoffs even if they lose to SFA next week?
Yes.
As much as we all dislike Sacramento State, do they get a playoff spot if they win out?
Maybe so, but probably. Because I think that puts them 8-4, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And here you go.
Probably.
Does Abilene Christian get a spot if they win out? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so because I believe they've lost a couple games they shouldn't to unranked teams, but I believe they got 4 ranked wins, which I know the committee, we don't look at ranked wins, but let's call them quality wins. They got 4 of those, one of them over Tarleton. So I'd say yes.
Yeah, beating Austin Peay, beating Tarleton. They're going to end with Eastern Kentucky, Central Arkansas. They definitely have a shot. Maybe a dumb question, not running anywhere as much, but Lamson has more touchdowns so far this year than Tommy Malott did, pass and run combined in his first 2 years. Can Justin be Tommy 2.0, Kyler? What do you think? That's from
No, I think what we saw from Tommy is just different than what we're seeing from Lamson. Now, Lamson's playing a hell of a season. They're doing exactly what they should, but Montana State right now looks like a more full team, where when it was, the last few years, it was like Tommy Malott ball. And it was Montana State was secondary to Tommy Malott. That's what it seemed like. Where this year, it's Montana State's defense is playing lights out. They've gotten stronger as the years gone on. And then again, it is nice collective, just sharing the ball. It looks good. But Lamson's playing a hell, and he's probably underrated from like what you guys were saying earlier. Not a lot of people are talking about him, and they probably should because he's playing a hell of a season.
Jamie, who is your Jerry Rice Award favorite? Says the Rev.
A few weeks ago, I had 3 guys in mind. I think I'm narrowing that down to 2. I think we're looking at Caden Pinnock of UC Davis, who's having a really solid season. But my favorite is Braden Atkinson of Mercer. Since he's taken over, I believe he didn't play the first 2 because he didn't play the game against UC Davis and he didn't play against Presbyterian. He started after that, and I believe he might lead the country in passing yards as a freshman. So I think right now, I think he is the front runner for the Jerry Rice Award as far as my ballot looks.
Very cool. Kyler Elliott says, if SDSU finds a way to make the playoffs, do you feel it could be a reincarnation of the 2021 Jackrabbits once healthy? Does the Valley deserve more bids than they're going to get? I'm just not sold that the Rabbits lines, especially offensively, and how that the offensive weapons that exist and their little offensive problems they had truly connects to 2021. 2021 got on a run. That was that big class that built them into the powerhouse into the next 2 years. And I always say, I think the 2021 Jackrabbit team, which they proved in the regular season, could have beat North Dakota State down in Frisco. They just got gassed at the end of that long playoff run, and Montana State took them in the 4th quarter in the semifinals. So, no, I just don't see the strength and beef of those lines being there for SDSU to do what they did in 21. And he says, does the Valley deserve more bids than they're going to get? They're probably going to get exactly what they're supposed to. And that's, if one 7-5 team gets in, it's probably a result of the FCS doing more damage to itself than it is the Valley deserving it. And the last one, Rev says, Jamie, did you see the 3 Texas high schools coin flipping at a gas station to see who got the playoff berth? What would be the best spot for a coin flip? All right, around the horn, guys. What's the best place for a coin flip for a conference championship?
I did see that, and I thought it was pretty cool. 3 guys, so it's whoever had the odd coin. So 2 heads and a tails wins. That was pretty cool. They did it at a gas station. So in Texas, after the Earl business, like Rev is, you got to do it at a gas station. But the best spot, probably a bank, because there's plenty of coins to flip.
Oh, dang, that's a good answer. That's really good.
I like Kyler Elliott's answer, too. Though.
Yeah, I like Kyler Elliott. Waffle
You're
House.
from the South, Waffle House. You're damn right.
Kyler, where would you do that coin flip?
Man, fly him up to Nashville, 50-yard line, do a coin flip, and then whoever wins goes, don't worry, you will also not see this place.
Oh, holy burn.
Is that too much?
Yeah, I would just like a coin flip should be on the FCS Fans Nation podcast live for any conference championship.
That's fair.
And Jamie Williams should just host it because he's the GOAT of forcing people to do that and do it the right way. Gentlemen, that brings us to the end of what will be undoubtedly one of the last regular season conversation episodes where we have fans asking questions. Our next 2 weeks for housekeeping are the mock playoff special, which will be live. Along with that, the week after, we will live stream at 12 Eastern on ESPNU, the selection show. And we will react.
Probably like 12:06 after some random ass basketball game gets.
Oh yeah, we'll have some basketball game, and then we'll get the live stream. We will see if we're able to pull an episode or something live before the first round games, because that live selection show won't actually involve us doing a lot of breakdown and answering questions. That'll be schedule dependent. But after that, we get into December, and December has brought us traditions of maybe Zach McKinnell's and Sam Herder's and Dustin Helton the Rev, and some mega lives. December is a fun month. So make sure, guys, if you're not subscribed to the FCS Fans Nation podcast on YouTube or 99 cents for FCS Gold, make sure you do that. We're back on Spotify. We're back on Apple. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, you can find us there. And just really, really honored to continue to see the traction move up. We're in that like 2,500 to 3,000 view listens type of season. People are excited, and that makes it fun for us. So Kyler, why don't you give a shout out of support to the fans and some final thoughts as we roll out before our episode next week? What do you got?
Well, this is the good time of the year. It's either, you're excited for the postseason or you're dreading and hoping you found something awesome for next season to hopefully carry the team as long as the portal doesn't take them away. So I'm excited that we might have found a quarterback for the first time in a few years. I'm really pumped for that. But guys, this is the best time if you're a top 25 team, which I'm sure most of the listeners are. Every game matters. Tune into ESPN Plus. Pull up 4 games. Have a good time. Bet on some games. We're not sponsored by them, but DraftKings, FanDuel, whatever you want, bet on them. Do some parlays, because Vegas has no clue how to bet on some of these games. They don't know the spreads, even though they are getting better, which is pissing me off. But if you want to make money, FCS is the best way to make some money. So bet on those. Do some parlays. Watch the games. Have a good old time.
Have some win some money so you can buy some Christmas presents. So, all right, FCS Fans Nation, that ends a fan question episode of the regular season. We will see you next week. Mock playoff special. Join us live. Until then, we hope your week's incredible. Catch you then. Boom.